everyone, I'm Kirsten Davidson, your host and creator of my wellness podcast, Mind the Gaps, surrendering our typical ways of looking at life to step out of our comfort zone and into our growth zone. Welcome to episode number 21, From Gaps to Growth in 2024. For this final episode of the year, my podcast guests from this past year were gracious enough to come back with examples of how they moved from their comfort zones to their growth zones and what gaps they had to be mindful of in order to make that jump. Each guest shares how they went from autopilot to being more intentional in 2024, to stepping outside of what they would normally consider, what they would normally do, how they would normally feel, and to be and occupy space that ignites their life in a way that makes them feel fulfilled, more powerful, and ready to take on more challenges, face more gaps, and move even further into growth. So I'd like to give a big thank you to all of the guests that submitted their reflection for this final episode of the year. You inspired me to create my own little reflection as well, which I included at the very end of this podcast. So I'm excited for you guys to tune in and to really get in depth on the vulnerable shares that these guests had to offer, and to hear how everyone, even the experts, have gaps to be mindful of. For all things Mind the Gaps, you can find me on Instagram at kirsten.davidson. I'm happy to answer every single one of your questions, comments, or feedback, and most of all, I'm happy to have you as part of the Mind the Gaps community. If you're interested in booking a therapy session with me, please feel invited to email me at kirsten@mindthegaps.co. You can also schedule a session online through the link found on all of my social media platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in, and a massive thank you to everyone who supported Mind the Gaps in 2024. I can't wait to see what gaps and growth 2025 has to offer us.
My name is Samantha Gladish. I am a hormone nutritionist, a breathwork facilitator, and a business mentor to practitioners and wellness coaches. In 2024, I stepped out of my comfort zone by really committing to my future self and really getting clear on what I want to achieve in the future and making it a priority to move towards those goals now, and recognizing that small baby steps always add up to something really big, and really thinking about how my future self wants to feel, what is important to my future self, and just really putting in the time and the energy and the effort to achieve many goals now that are going to lead to the bigger goals for my future self. I also made it a priority to really speak these goals and these commitments to the people that I love and really trust and know that will hold me accountable and are also willing to have difficult, challenging conversations with me, and in one way or another kind of test me to see where my commitments really lie. And having those people on board is always really important to me, because I think it is important to share these goals with people who can support you and love you along the way, along this journey, because the journey is going to come with so many ups and downs, and just having those people who can really support you and have your back is really, really key. So I just made it a really big priority to think about my future self and to implement the baby steps to get towards those future goals, and really recognizing what my future self wanted and wants, and just making little steps, taking little steps every single day, because little by little, a little becomes a lot.
Hello, my name is Dr. Taylor Smink. I'm the CEO and founder of Impact Wellness. I'm a chiropractor and certified functional medicine practitioner. 2024 was a huge year of growth for me and for my business, and it certainly required that I get out of my comfort zone and into my growth zone. I think there were two main themes that I was working through this year. One was fear of failure. The other was fear of judgment. And something that I became increasingly aware of was where these limiting beliefs were showing up in my decision making. And what I did is I allowed myself to recognize when those patterns were coming up. And I said, thank you so much. I'm going to put you right over here. And then instead really focused on, how does this decision or this thought, how does this course of action resonate with me personally? How does it fit in with the mission and the vision of my business and what I am trying to provide and bring into this world? And so as long as whatever I was doing, whatever decision I was making resonated with me at my core as a person and resonated with the mission and the vision and where I want my business to go, then I moved forward with that decision, regardless of whether I thought there was a potential to fail and regardless of whether I cared about what anybody else might think. And that has been extremely powerful, and it has drastically propelled me forward, not only in my own personal growth, but in the growth of my business as well. So I think my biggest takeaway for this year is just be whole with yourself first and tune into self and really think about your gut instinct and how things are resonating with you, and don't allow those fears to hold you back.
Hi guys, my name is Annetta, and I had the honor to be interviewed by Kirsten earlier this year, and she has asked me what are some comfort zones that I have decided to step out of this year that has helped me get into a growth zone. And I would say that one of the biggest ones was public speaking, which is really funny to hear because I teach yoga for a living. So I am always in front of many people, but I decided to step out of what I'm familiar with and comfortable in a yoga room to being interviewed on a podcast. I was invited to be a speaker for an all-women's event to share my entrepreneurial story that included what was messy in my life before I took on this journey and how did I manage to go through all of that. But none of that came with ease. It definitely came with excitement, but it came with a little bit of nervousness and fear, because I have a little bit of fear standing in front of many people sitting down listening to my story. But I decided to say yes, and that was a profound moment for me because I could clearly feel myself saying, okay, this is definitely where I am stepping into a challenge, getting out of what I am comfortable doing. And I know on the other side of that is going to be growth. And so now that I did step out of that and tried something different, I am now excited to do more of that. Doesn't mean that I'm not scared. Doesn't mean that I still don't get sweaty palms. But I know that there's more for me to explore in my growth in this area, and I am super excited and looking forward to taking on that opportunity in 2025.
How's it going, everybody? Austin Smink here, 3-time Paralympic athlete and this year's gold medalist in the men's 800-meter wheelchair race. Just wanted to take a quick moment and reflect about how minding the gaps led towards Paralympic success. This medal represents attempting an impossible task with the expectation of success. And that is a very daunting task to undertake. We need to trust ourselves that we've put in the work and that we have the mental dexterity to operate on the performance stage at the time, on the day, when it matters the most. When the pressure's the highest, we need to be the most relaxed. This is a skill that we practice, just like picking up weights and putting them down to make our arms stronger or our legs stronger. We need to make sure that we also work out our mind. And through that, we put ourselves into uncomfortable situations and then expect that we can stay level-headed. We want to be the surgeons that are in the medical room. When everything's going on, we want to stay calm. I hope that we all have a moment to reflect upon what it took us in 2024 to move outside of our comfort zone and into our growth zone. By doing so, we're able to create plans that will help us make the year better in 2024 and seek personal and perpetual improvement. That sounded pretty good. Everybody is unbelievable when they put their mind to being the best they can be. I've witnessed this across so many stages, across so many platforms, and everybody, I want you to know, have my love, and if you want to do something to the best of your ability, you also have my respect. Have a great rest of 2024. Look for your areas that you can improve and make plans in order to do so. I love you all. Happy holidays. Keep the rubber side on the road and enjoy the rest of the 2024 year. Go Canada, go.
Hi, I'm Curtis. I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'd like to share how I've stepped outside of my comfort zone and grown over the last year. Stepping out of my comfort zone this year would really be learning how to do public speaking and writing posts online and on social media and sharing my expertise more widely. I've been relatively comfortable one-on-one with patients, but I often feel nervous putting myself online. I feel like I'm overcoming that fear and actually enjoy doing posts and videos. So this has really pushed me to learn better ways to communicate with others and become more confident and make health information more accessible and impactful. Thanks for listening. I hope this inspires you to embrace your own growth journey.
I'm Susan Defoe. I'm the mother of 3, grandmother to 6, and mother-in-law to 3. I'm also a retired psychotherapist, retired family therapist, current yoga teacher, and mindfulness teacher. 2 of the special parts of my life that I can hold on to for as long as possible. In 2024, I did step out of my comfort zone. Part of getting older is really embracing who we are. I had been a person who would do it myself all the time, and I've learned a lot about relationships, and I've learned about relationships mostly from nature. I'm aware that reciprocity is really important to growth. To know when it's time to ask for help and to appreciate any help that can be given. There is an illusion of self-sufficiency that's promoted, but the reality is we belong to one another and we're responsible for one another, just as everything around us in nature. So we're responsible for nature too, and nature provides for us. I wish everybody a happy new year.
Hi there, my name is Johnny Thompson. I am an author of 3 books, Mini Philosophy, Mini Big Ideas, and Mini Psychology. I am a writer at Big Think, and I'm a content creator with the social media network Mini Philosophy. Hi Kirsten, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to reflect on my 2024, because it's been a really busy year. While 2023 was the year that I transitioned from being a teacher to being a writer, I would say that 2024 is the year that it really normalized and started to lay down. And the transition is a big one, because when you're a teacher, your life is surrounded by students, by colleagues, and your day is divided into these neatly compartmentalized units of time, which are lessons. But when you're a writer, things are very different. You have to do everything on your own steam, you have to kind of meet your own deadlines, and you are essentially in the same space, this study here. And I see the same few people every day, day in and day out. And I write for an American company called Big Think, and so almost all of my interactions with real life people happen through the medium of a screen. So lots of opportunities, lots of exciting things have happened this year, but one of the biggest challenges for me has been the sociability element, that I think I took it for granted when I was a teacher and going into a bricks and mortar space. How important that sociability is, how important it is to be around other people and to talk to people, even if it's small talk, even if it's about griping about the job. But it's really important, that kind of phatic language, to kind of like to consolidate your relationships with people. And so an area of growth for me this year, and an area of growth that I want to carry on in 2025, is to build on that kind of like sociability, to form more real life connections and carve out more time in my day and my week and my year to see real life people and my friends. But it's been a year of opportunities and a year of very exciting things. So I started off as being a writer, and somewhere along the line I ended up becoming a content creator. My social media accounts have blown up, and my videos are doing really well. And so I've had to learn how to kind of juggle all of these many different jobs. When you're a teacher, as I say, you're given the timetable, you're given your job sheet, and you're told to go about it. But now that I'm entirely on my own steam, I'm finding it difficult to manage all of the different kind of what's the word I want? Strings to my bow. So the opportunity there is that it's very exciting. and there's some lucrative possibilities might be emerging, but the difficulty is also that I am trying to be many different things to many different people. So I think in 2025 I'm going to try and consolidate that again, and I'm going to try and find out where I want to focus my skills, my time and my efforts, and decide who I really want to be in 2025. So yeah, sorry if that's a ramble. I'm a philosopher, so I tend to think about these quite a lot. But thank you very much for all of your support and your help. And I hope we carry on to interact and form our relationship into 2025. Thank you. Bye.
My name is Daniel Farb. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I'm making this video because I was a guest on the Mind the Gaps podcast, and Kirsten asked if guests of the show, including myself, could do a short video basically just reflecting on how we stepped out of our comfort zones and into the growth zone, and what gaps in thinking, feeling, behavior needed to be confronted to make changes to go from comfort to growth. And just thinking about the past year, having recently moved to a new city, setting up my practice here, having a small child who started preschool this year. We have another kid on the way, having to move my office recently. It feels like I've not been in the comfort zone very much this past year. But reflecting on this question, like, given that there's been a lot of changes and a lot of stress that comes with that, what I've had to look at is when I do want to go into my comfort zone and self-soothe or take care of myself, how am I doing that? And is the way I'm doing that actually serving me? And is it healthy and all that? And like half the time, the answer is no. The habits that I'm engaging in, whether it's zoning out on playing a game or TV or social media, whatever, like sort of sedentary stuff, like good within certain limits, but beyond that, like what else am I doing? And am I getting enough sleep and all that? And it's very easy for me to justify, what feels comfortable that may not be the healthiest or optimal choice when I already have so much other stuff on my plate. It's very easy to justify not changing anything about how I'm coping and how I'm getting along day to day. So, everything from those habits to how much I'm sleeping to, what am I eating and diet and alcohol consumption, all those things. So the challenge is anytime I think of making a change in habits, there's always parts of me that are like, no, don't want to do it. And they're very easy to listen to and act in accordance with, and to then listen to and act more on the side of parts of me that want to change always takes a little bit more effort. But I find that if I don't proactively do that, then at a certain point, I will suffer enough that I feel like I have to make the change anyway. And then my system will push me in that direction. So it's kind of like choose how much you want to suffer. And kind of like with procrastination, how long do you want to be stressed out about this till you do it? So that's sort of been a major theme that came up in my mind when reflecting on this question. Happy holidays to those who celebrate.
My name is Melanie Keynes. I'm a certified yoga teacher and the owner of Nova Retreats. This year, I stepped out of my comfort zone and into my growth zone by expanding what I offer, where I go, what I do, and that can be scary. But moving through the fear means there's so many more experiences to have on the other side. So that was really wonderful to take in. And also doing more things solo and recognizing that I've got this. Yeah, I can hold space. I can make decisions. I can empower people and through that empower myself too. So it was really nice to move through the uncertainty and the fear and into the beauty and the growth and the empowerment.
Hi, I'm Kasia Sitars, health and wellness clinic owner, reconnection and heart-led coach, fitness, health, mindset mentor, and Thrive's podcast host. I've recently been on the podcast with Kirsten, Mind the Gaps, and she had asked me the question, how did I move from comfort zone to growth zone this year? And truthfully, it's been such a powerful, abundant year in so many ways. And when I reflect back, my word this year was bold. Move boldly into your experiences, move boldly into your purpose, into getting to know yourself more. And that didn't come as easy as I had thought. There was abundance, there was so much growth. And what I found was that I was starting to upper limit myself in these experiences, or after these experiences. I would start to question, well, who am I to have this? Who am I to move into these places? And then I had to really reframe that. And that was part of the growth, was sitting with myself, getting curious with myself, asking myself questions of why I felt like I wasn't worthy of that, where I started to learn more about myself. And a big thing for me was coming back onto a podcast. I had not been on a podcast for so long, and that is because I felt like I needed to show up perfect in this world. And the truth is, life is imperfectly perfect. And I learned that if I can start to love even the imperfections of myself, then I can show up just as me. And if somebody can take something out of that, great. But it's not even about me. It's about something that's greater than me. And so this is what I really had to sit in this year. And gosh, I have felt so much growth. My heart is expanded, my heart's open, and I'm going to continue to sit in the discomfort. So I continue to move from comfort to growth.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Tracy Clark. I'm owner, director, and master practitioner at Quantum Physician. Well, I have to admit that this entire year has felt like it's been out of my comfort zone. From the moment I made the decision to choose myself and to take myself out of a situation that kept me small, that filled me with fear, that drained my energy and my self-esteem. And I continued to put one foot in front of the other all year, even when the weight of the discomfort took my breath away. But here we are at the end of 2024, and I feel like I've created a whole new comfort zone, and it's one in which my self-esteem and my self-worth is greater than it's ever been.
Hi everyone, I'm Kirsten Davidson, and this is my reflection on how I moved from gaps to growth in 2024. My biggest comfort zone was being the person that was seen and not heard, the person that occupied space for other people naturally as a therapist, and who didn't really share a lot about herself because, if I did, then what I present as being imperfect. And so perfectionism was a big gap that I had to overcome, especially to start this podcast. Starting this podcast was the biggest step out of my comfort zone. I would say arguably in my life. If you'd have told me that I'd be doing this a year ago before I started my first recording, I would have just laughed because there's no way in hell that I would be occupying any type of spotlight. And something that I had to do was get out of my own way and get out of this headspace that if I didn't present as perfect, that people wouldn't like me, or that the show wouldn't be good, or that the message wouldn't get out there. And if anything, what I started to learn was that my fear of presenting as perfect was actually getting in the way of the message getting out there. So, I did some things to hold myself accountable. I started telling friends and family. I bought a microphone. I invested in some editing software, started teaching myself some things. And then when it came time to sit down and finally record something and call my own bluff, I was having a really hard time spitting out even a single word. So I got pretty frustrated with myself, and I took out some big pieces of paper, big blue Sharpie, and wrote some affirmations. These affirmations are more like tough love, get to it, get over yourself type of thing. And it worked. So some of the things that I wrote were, no one cares if you're imperfect. The other one that really stuck was, you aren't important, the message is. Now, that's not to say that I'm advocating for us to not take care of ourselves as if we're not important, but no one really cares, right, about how I'm showing up. It's the message. Like, I'm a medium of these messages that I wanted to share, and I had to let go of this idea that I needed to be perfect in order to share them, because people don't really like perfectionism. They like messiness. It's real. It's raw. Another thing I wrote was, we're all gonna die anyway. That one was big. That one helped. Like, I don't want to be on my deathbed thinking, oh, thank God I didn't post that video because of this one thing I said, or that episode because there was this one blip. No, we want to get the message out there. And so that's been huge. This whole year has been just an explosion of connection, joy, generosity, bringing new ideas to the surface. And I'm so grateful to all of the guests that were here with me throughout that journey and all the beautiful people that I've met. I'm so excited to continue this journey into growth and to continue minding my own gaps. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying the podcast, I invite you to participate in a Growth Zone challenge. I invite you to take a moment, a second, a gap in your day right now and share this episode with 2 other people. Thank you for minding the gaps with me. I'll see you next time on the journey out of our comfort zones and into our growth zones.